I have a huge, big, heaving, creative comedy brain, call me a genius if you will. The problem I have is that I have too many good ideas for hilarious, creative comedy characters, and I don't have the time to execute them and flesh them out and put them into my own YouTube videos. Luckily for me, there is another medium to which I can donate my suggestions so that they don't go to waste. You may have heard of the Stephen Tries podcast. It's quite possible that you haven't. There are only 200 people subscribed to this YouTube channel. We're already working with a small sample size here. Imagine the Stephen Tries podcast as a grain of rice and my channel as a grain of sand, on my finger here. And you sort of put the two together for a Venn diagram. The overlap in the middle is very small. It might just be me who watches both, I don't know. But what I do know is that on the Stephen Tries podcast, they introduce hilarious new comedy characters every week. Usually with some sort of pun as a name, always great stuff, belter, makes me laugh, makes me ruffle on the floor. So I thought, hey, if I'm not going to use these great ideas I've had, maybe I can pass them along. If anyone from the Stephen Tries podcast is watching, you're free to these, you can have these. These are just a few suggestions off my dome. I've got a degree in creative writing, which means there is some, these are quality ideas. Low quality ideas specifically. I've got 5 here that I'm going to go through. At number 1, so here's a hilarious comedy character I've got an idea for called Cello, right? So, the Italian liqueur, it's like that, limoncello, all one word, but this is lemon first name, surname cello. And that would be, I suppose, I was focused more on the pun more than what the character would actually be. I guess we're talking about an Italian alcoholic cello player, maybe. There's some wiggle room there. You can work around that. Maybe get a lemon costume that you could wear. So that would be a nice little funny visual gag. Or maybe not. Maybe he's unaware of the fact that limoncello is a type of alcohol. I don't know, you're the geniuses over there, you're the boffins with the successful podcast. I'm merely an ant, offering a crumb. And that brings me to my next idea, a second comedy character. This one's called Crumb Sandwich. Now, that's not really a pun on an existing thing like limoncello is. It's more, well, it doesn't really make any sense. Picture, if you will, a cum sandwich. That's pretty funny. Bread, cum in the middle, slap that together. You've got a nice, delicious meal. Probably, if you're into that sort of thing. I'm not, personally, I wouldn't eat it. Crumb sandwich, yeah, that's pretty good. That's a pretty funny idea. But what about crumb sandwich? So it's a sandwich, 2 pieces of bread, and the crumbs are the filling. But then you could put like mayonnaise in there, because mayonnaise looks a bit like cum. I mean, it doesn't, but like it sort of does. If we're talking about condiments, reliable sources, that's the sort of most cummish looking one. So, yeah, I don't know. And the guy, you could have crumb sandwich. He comes on the podcast. He's got a crumb sandwich. He starts eating it. You can work with it. You're the boffins over there with a successful podcast. Next idea I had was a character called Mars Rover. Now, that's, of course, the name of the thing that went on Mars. But it's also sort of the name that some hippies who own a farm, not in a Charles Manson sort of way, but some hippies who own a farm might give to their child, Mars Rover. So that could be a farmer. You could do a good, West Country accent. And, I can't do the accent, so I'm not going to say what it would sound like. But, I'm Mars Rover, the farmer. And then it'd be funny because he's not very technologically advanced, but it's also the name of the thing that went into space. So, just throwing that out there. You can make it work. You're the comedy boffins with the successful podcast. Next one I had was Mike Handy. That doesn't really work, but you can play around with that. You could do Maya Handy. Does that work? What was the pun I was going for? Eye candy. Ike Handy. So you can't do Maya Handy. You could do Ike. That's a name. Tina Turner and Ike. Ike Handy. Mike Handy. Whatever. You can make it work. You're the comedy boffins. I mean, you've got a successful podcast. And then finally my last idea, and I have saved the best till last, and this is for a character called Nick Elback. Now, this is going to really diversify your comedy portfolio, and that's a term that comedians use all the time. I've seen Jerry Seinfeld saying that whilst he was grabbing coffee. You've got the pun, Nick Elback, like the band, but you can also do a bit of physical comedy, and another pun, because you can have an L plate, like what learners have when they're driving, I think. I don't drive. But you would whack it on the guy's back, so he's got a big L on there. And then it's also sort of funny because that means like, L, So that's sort of jokes on its own, but you can build on that and maybe do some puns with some Nickelback song titles. Nickelback could say, why is everyone always taking a photograph of my back? you know, and that's a Nickelback song, isn't it? Or you could go, oh, why'd you have that L plate on your back? And you could go, oh, that's how it reminds me that I'm learning to drive. Yeah? You get it. You're the comedy boffins with the successful podcast. You can make that work. So those are my suggestions. I'll be completely honest with you. Some of them may have already been used on the Stephen Gerrard podcast. I wouldn't know. All right, I'm drunk a worrying amount of the time when I'm watching anything on YouTube. So if they have already been done, sorry for nicking your idea, but if they haven't already been done, you've got to roll with them. I mean, those are 5 guaranteed home runs, you know. Hit them out of the park. You can go ahead and take those. I don't even need a writing credit for it, you know, although obviously, you know, fair enough. I mean, you could credit me, could give me some money for it, could pay me. That'd be calm. That'd actually be sort of dope. But you can have them for free. No, that was shocking.